What is up, guys? This is Zach from Anglers Escape, and right here I have the Amazon fishing tackle kit. This was $21 for all these lures, a little over 100 pieces in total, and I'll go ahead and put the link at the video description. But I went ahead and tested this out. I caught 4 bass pretty quickly in 2 different ponds, so these lures do work. But I want to point out the lures that did work and didn't work, and right off the bat I'll tell you, I really think this is worth it for $21, the lures you get. But there's a lot of useless lures in here too that you might as well chuck. So let's first of all go over the lures that did work. And again, this is $21 after tax and shipping. I have Amazon Prime. I had multiple hits and caught 1 bass on this frog lure right here. It came with 2 frog lures. These were decent. I would say normally you can get these for about $2 each on Amazon or Walmart, maybe $2 to $3 a piece. So this alone is gonna be about $5 for these 2 lures. They did work. They're maybe not the highest quality because eventually they start taking on some water and you had to kind of squeeze them and push out the water. But overall, the bass did hit them and I got hits pretty quick. So these are some lures that I would use as a top water, kind of skimming across the top. Another lure that works really well in this tackle box is a Carolina rig. So it's got multiple bullet weights, it's got some swivels, and then it also has some long plastic worms, 3 of them in the box. It works really well. And so real quick, I'll show you what I mean by a Carolina rig. This I've caught tons of bass off, but basically you have your bullet weight that freely slides up and down your line, and then you have a little bead that the box has about 10 of these so it doesn't get stuck onto your swivel. Then you have your swivel, and then about anywhere from 8 to 12 inches from there I tie on my little offset hook, and then I plug it right into that worm, and you just basically cast these out and wiggle them back, and they work really well. It came with a bunch of these offset hooks. You can see there's about 10 of them in there. So for that alone, it's about $10 if you went to any store or online to get several large worms, multiple offset hooks for the bass worm hooks, and then these bullet weights as well as the swivels, and then there's even more beads over here for the Carolina rigs. So that alone is about $10 for all these Carolina rigs, and then again about $5 for those 2 frogs. The next thing that I found was really worthwhile was this one small square-billed crankbait back here. This guy. Almost immediately I caught a fish, and I'll show you the fish I caught. It had pretty good action, and I was happy with the small square-billed crankbait, so that was a good bait. But so that alone could be another $3, $4, maybe $3. So there we're up to about $18. This box was $21. These 2 crankbaits, guys, toss them. They're complete junk. Basically you cast them out, and the first thing they do is they just sit straight up and down and on the surface, and when you retrieve them they have no action whatsoever. It's basically like reeling in a stick. I fished for these for like an hour, caught nothing, and the other lures I was catching bass within minutes. So if you have these 2, those aren't worth it. So unfortunately that's somewhere where the box does not do a good job. The next thing is these buzz baits. These actually worked really well. I didn't catch a bass on them because I didn't have too much time to fish with them, but the action was really good. It felt really good. There's a lot of spin, and I definitely guarantee you I would have caught some bass if I fished a little longer. Now these are about $1 a piece. You can get them at Walmart. Amazon, they're about $2 a piece. And again, I'll put links if you want to buy these lures individually in the video description. But this would put us up for about $18 of good lures. And again, we're throwing away those lures. Now we're going to move on to some of these spoons. These spoons were decent. I would say you can definitely get better inline spinners. But while I didn't catch a spoon, I basically hooked up a little swivel. I can show you guys how I was fishing it. I put a little swivel, then tied on my spoon about 8 inches down from my swivel, just so it didn't tangle up my line with that spoon on there. I saw some bass chasing it, didn't get them to take it, but they didn't seem to be working, and it comes with like 5 or 6 spoons. So if these were about $1 each, and I could definitely see how like salmon fishing and like ocean fishing, they really like these spoons, Spanish mackerel. If I was out of freshwater, I think these would have worked really well and I would have caught stuff. So those were $1 each, that'd be $5. That put that box up to about $25 of value. The next thing is we got some crappie jigs, and I actually caught some bass on these. So here's the crappie jig heads. You can plug them into any of these little baits. You can catch usually smaller bass on these smaller plastics. Crappie really like them, bluegill really like them. All right, guys, so overall I do think this box is worth it. It was $21. I think it's worth a little over $30, especially for the beginner. It gives you a wide variety of lures. Again, toss those lures that I said didn't work. I will, if you already have some of these lures, put in the video description some Amazon links to where you can buy the individual lures a little higher quality. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, best of luck fishing. Oh, we got one, guys. Got one on the crankbaits. Finally, I had to work it a little bit faster, but we got a nice bass on the crankbait. This is a little square-bill type crankbait. Not a huge bass, but the Amazon tackle kit is working. Here's the lure that we are using. It's got a little bit of a lip on it. Small little guy. We'll get him back in the water and let's see if we can't catch some more. but that's a nice one. Amazon tackle kit, fish number 1. Oh, we got one, guys. We got one. Not huge, but we got one. All right, the worm worked, finally. Took a little bit of casting, got him right on the top of the mouth right there, as you guys can see. But not a bad fish. Got him on the worm in the box. I like the longer worms. I think we'll try out one of the smaller worms now. But we'll get this guy back in the water. Beautiful catch. Basically what I have right here is a weedless Carolina worm. So this is kind of barely tucked in, as you can see, to the plastic itself, so I can drive it through weeds. It's about a 6-inch worm. And then about 12 to 18 inches up, I have my barrel swivel, my bead, and finally a sliding bullet sinker. And it's working pretty well. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy back in the water. And that is fish number 2 on the box. And let's try another lure. There we go. We got one, guys. Not a huge one, but it shows that the plastic is working. It only took about 2 casts with this jig and we had one, so really set the hook on that guy. I was not gonna let him get off, but probably first year bass, not very long, but he inhaled that little grub jig. And so this is lure number 4 now that I've been able to catch bass on. But here's a little jig I was using. All I do is I cast this out, and let's get the, oh, bass found his way back into the water. But basically, all I do with this little jig, cast it out and then let it sink a little bit, twitch it a little bit, move it up in the water column, let it fall back down, twitch it a little bit back up while I'm reeling in. And these can be a killer, especially for crappie, smaller bass, but it shows that this did work in the tackle box. All right, guys, we got one. We got a nice one on the frog. Finally got him. Took a little while to get one on the frog, but we got it. Oh, let's get him over here. There we go. There's the frog. There's the thing. It worked. We can catch bass on the frog. He inhaled it. And this frog, I'm actually working right by the bank and casting it just a couple feet out from the bank, because that's where they're hunting these frogs. I see them all over the place. So the frog lure does work, and this is a nice little bass. We'll get him back in the water here.